Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, and boys and girls too. Welcome to another edition of the Bill Crane Report, the sports show, with Gary Patterson again. We're here to bring you our opinions on the sports stories. We don't have much to talk about.
Right.
Yeah, but we better wade right into it. And Gary, as I told you, pick your poison: Red Sox, Bruins, or Patriots.
I say we talk about the Bruins. They've been pretty topical
Bingo.
lately.
They
you
sure
and
have.
They've been very busy.
They've been in the picture, haven't
Yeah.
they? I was messing around a few days ago, and leading into all of this,
Right.
I'd just like to put my spin, if I could first,
Okay.
on the events leading up to the firing of Peter Chiarelli.
Yes.
And I didn't do this to be funny. I really and truly believe this is the truth as it happened.
Okay. Based on your fact finding?
Everything I've read and hanging around the Bruins for a million years and all that.
Okay.
Jeremy Jacobs, the owner of Delaware North, and by proxy the owner of the Bruins too,
Right.
sends his son Charlie to Boston and says to Charlie, keep your mouth shut, no decisions, call me weekly, and learn Boston, learn the Bruins, but low-key. Positive, that's the truth, because Boston Magazine had a very long and insightful article on Charlie. Mm-hmm. And Charlie is about as exciting as watching the paint dry on a wall. So Charlie is here. The Bruins have some success, and then they lose focus. Cam Neely becomes president.
Yeah.
Great player. In fact, I'm going to tell you something. Well, I'll tell you what, you put a hammerlock on me and say, who's the best right wing you ever saw play hockey? I mean, I saw Gordie Howe, Rocket Richard, but boy, I'll tell you, for a stretch when he was healthy,
Right.
man, he was as good
he was a
as
force.
any of them.
Yeah.
Boy, I'll tell you, he was tough.
50-goal scorer and just a incredible physical presence.
Oh, man. What did he score? He scored, was it 50 goals in 50 games? That year he was out with injuries.
Yeah, it was pretty close
like
to that.
Damn
Yeah.
close.
He had a couple of really.
I mean, just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Shot that he deflected down. It bounced off the ice and up over the goalie's shoulder. I've never seen anything like that before in my life. But anyway.
And he intimidated the hell out of the other team.
Did he ever? He'd go into the corners. Now, he was a right-handed shot. He got away with this for years. But he'd take his right hand off the stick and give these guys a shiver in the shoulder that would knock them flying.
Right.
Well, I'll tell you.
He was something.
He sure was.
We could use him right now.
But, as I said, great player,
Yep.
but lost otherwise.
Well.
I think he's in over his head.
It's an open question, certainly.
So they go to Jeremy. Charlie and Cam, and say, we want to fire Peter Chiarelli. Well, they wanted to fire Julian in December, and the old man said no.
Overruled them. Right.
Yep.
That's the
So
way.
at the end of the year, they said, we want to fire Peter, and they said, fire him. Jeremy says, I got to check with my Rasputin first.
Right.
But he comes back and says, fire him. So then Charlie and Cam and Donnie, who was general manager even though he wasn't appointed, say, what do we do now? So they go back to Jeremy. And he said, okay, the three of you lost. I will activate Rasputin and he will take care of this for you. Harry Sinden is revealed still as the power behind the throne. This actually happened.
Yeah, the consultants, yes.
Yep. And Harry calls his old fishing buddy, Glenn Sather, I'm positive, and says, Glenn says, Jeff Gorton's not going anyplace. okay? So you're not going to hire him.
You're not
to
going to
be
get
the
him.
GM.
Yeah.
We're keeping him. So Harry tells Cam to hire Don Sweeney. Then Harry calls Toronto. He's got connections up there because that's how he finally got Shirley straightened out and got him, was through Toronto connections.
Okay.
And finds that Mike Babcock will be signing with Toronto for $50 million. So Harry says, don't do anything with Claude until I sort this out. But go public with Don Sweeney and have him say he will sort this out, this Julian deal out, when in fact Rasputin, through Jeremy, calls the shots.
Okay.
And I think Harry said, this is a work in progress. Let's go through it and see what kind of falls out from this. Will Julian turn around and become a different kind of coach? He ain't going to do it.
No,
I know he's not going to
right.
do it. But I think there's a 50-50 chance that we'll see Bruce Cassidy up from Providence before the year is out.
Well,
But I don't think the Bruins are going to go anyplace else and hire any big name. They didn't do it for GM, and I don't think they're going to do it for coach.
no. I mean, I think Claude is going to be here this year.
Yep.
Question is, what is this year?
Yeah.
Is it a transition year?
Yeah. Well,
Or
now
do we
that's
still think
Yep.
we're a competitive team, which, you know, with one or two more players, which they actually have some room to get, they could squeak into the playoffs. They could be a playoff team.
they could. They could.
They've still got,
You're
a core of
absolutely
talent.
right. And they've got a superb goaltender.
yeah,
And if they give somebody, they find somebody that can play 25 games and give Rask some downtime,
yeah.
that should hold up.
Those guys are out there. But the defense needs to be addressed.
No question
in a
about
big
that.
way.
But you know, I've got to believe Seidenberg will be better this year than he was last, coming
agree.
off
Yeah,
that
I think so.
injury. Those.
I'm not sure about Chara, though.
Boy, he's just
Getting up there. 39?
Yeah, you know.
Big guy.
You know, I know that I've got a 2001 Mercury, and I probably could drive it to California and back, but it wouldn't be my first choice of
Yeah.
vehicles. I want something a little bit more reliable. That's how I look at Chara now.
Yeah.
Awful lot of miles. He's really slowed down, and I think his best moments last year was playing the power play when he was clogging up the front of the net.
Yeah.
I thought he had some good moments there. I thought that was a pretty good move. But, well,
But to me, that's the real question with the Bruins: is where do they think they are, and whether it's Harry pulling the strings behind the curtain, the man behind the curtain, or what, I don't know. But I think it's what they do next is going to be very interesting.
well,
Are they going to add
yeah.
in a couple of key places, and then hope that a lot of these kids develop? You know, the thing that I find troubling is that they're going young, and I'm okay with them going young. But to me, Claude's not the guy to do that. He's proven
No.
that he doesn't. Young players don't
Joel
develop
Kenville.
under him. Some do, though, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you can argue that Marchand developed under him, right? You could say that Lucic even developed under him, right?
Yeah, but where would they have been under Joel Kenville? Or where would they have
Right.
been under Mike Babcock? I mean, these guys are superb coaches, and they don't take this hard line. By the way, in today's paper, The Globe, I don't know whether you got a chance to read it or not, but Fluto has quite an article in there again, running down the Bruins. Now, Fluto's source of information was Peter Chiarelli. He was in Peter Chiarelli's
Okay.
vest pocket,
Yeah.
and when Peter wanted something in the paper, it was
He had his man.
Fluto, buddy, run this one out and put it up the flagpole. And Fluto is really looking, seems to me, very petty. Well, you know, McQuaid's an interesting signing. He'll probably break his hand cashing a check or something, or you know. And he's had like 3 or 4 remarks like that. And he also doesn't like the Hamilton thing. Oh, he's really ripped about the Hamilton thing, because there's a story going around that Edmonton offered the Bruins more than
I've
what
heard that.
Calgary did.
Right.
Now, who knows if that's true or not? But there was also a story going around that the kid wanted $1 gazillion. Well, you know, they offered him what?
5.5.
5.5
Average
over
value.
6.
Right.
And he signed for $1 million more than that, didn't
Right.
he?
Right.
Yeah.
Average of 5.75.
Yeah, something like that.
Right.
Yeah, over 6. So,
Which is interesting because there were options for the Bruins. Obviously, the first one to keep him, which at that price tag, why not? He was restricted.
but
And
he
so there you-
but he turned that price down.
He did, but if he had come back with an offer sheet and they had matched it, he would have been forced to
That's it.
stay.
That's exactly
At
right.
which point they could trade him.
Yeah.
But the other thing is if he came back with an offer sheet and they let him go and got the compensation. So originally there was talk that he might sign for 7.5. And
Yeah.
at those numbers, they would get 3 number 1 picks.
Yeah.
But as it turns out, at the 5.75 value that he signed for, they would have gotten a first, a second,
And
and
a
a
third.
third.
Yeah.
And they ended up getting a first and 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And they got him now, right? So the players
Right.
are already in the system,
Right.
assuming they draft well, which
You know,
we won't know for a
You-
couple of
you-
years.
You don't know about kids. They're all
Yeah,
different.
We need 3 or 4 years to
Yeah.
really know what just
And-
happened.
And the NBA recently came out and said, we really need to rethink our draft.
Yeah, they
Instead of
sure do.
18-year-olds, we should only draft 20-year-olds. And then they came out with something ludicrous. We want them to stay in college for those extra 2 years, help with their education, help to mature
Yeah.
them. As if any of the basketball players go to classes,
Yeah.
as if any of them take their own tests. The college experience, drinking beer and running
Yeah.
around with young ladies.
Yeah, I kind of like what the NHL does. You can draft them and they can still go back.
That's right. That's not a bad
It's an
system
interesting-
at all.
yeah.
I like the NHL has the buyout system too. The guy starts stinking it out after the first year of a 5-year contract. You can buy him out for what, half? And then I think
Yeah.
it goes to 2/3 or 3/4, and then you're on the hook for the whole
Right.
thing. But I don't think that's a bad system either. But nonetheless, I'm concerned about the Bruins. Mainly because you're going to take Julian, and look what he did with Kessel, who got traded again today,
Yeah.
Sagan, Hamilton. He's single-handedly run the 3 of them out of town.
3 top.
And he tried damn hard to do it with Ryan Spooner. He wouldn't play Spooner.
Right.
And Seth Griffith. Now, granted, Seth Griffith is not a complete young hockey player, but he can surely put the puck in the net.
Yeah.
But he sat him in the press box for what, like 11 or 12 straight games? Like you're going to get better sitting in the press box when you're a kid, 20
Right.
years old. You know, you really work on your wrist shot up there.
That's why that's the part of this that I just don't get. If you want to make the types of changes that they're making, I mean, they drafted 6 kids in the first 2 rounds, so
Yeah.
they restocked their system.
They
So,
did.
will they go 6 for 6? Probably not. But if they go 4 for 6 out of that group, that's an infusion of talent. Probably 2 years down the
But
line,
they got more coming.
and they got more coming.
Yeah.
But Claude just doesn't seem like the guy to nurture that
He's
young team and
not.
develop them.
It's not. He
Doesn't have the track record.
no.
In fact, he's got a negative track record with the Kessels and the Sagans and the Hamiltons. So to me, that's the big issue. I'm fine if the direction is we weren't going to re-sign Lucic. Hamilton, maybe he didn't want to be here. Maybe there was problems with him. Who knows? It didn't work out.
No, no.
Unfortunate, but okay.
Yeah.
Because I think you did okay getting a first and 2 seconds from him. You didn't
Yeah.
do great, but you did
I
okay.
think Hamilton's got a lot more.
I think they did really well trading Lucic.
they did excellent.
They ended up with 2 number
2
ones.
number ones. And
The San Jose pick could be a top 10 pick very
the
easily.
kid defenseman played in
Right.
the AHL last year, had 19 goals and 30
Right.
assists, and
He'll-
broke the record down there in the games before the All-Star game by going 105.4 on his slap shot, miles an hour.
Really?
Yeah, that's the fastest it's ever been done in the AHL.
Wow.
So
That's
this
Charlie.
kid Miller,
So, well, there you go. He'll
Yeah.
be here this year. His holes to fill.
boy, they'll certainly be grooming him.
So with him and Krug, maybe we're going to get our offense from the blue
know,
line, huh?
I'll tell you what. Oh, I'll bet you Krug. He only signed a 2-year contract.
Yeah.
Riley Smith grabbed that 3 years, but he only took 2 because I'll bet you Krug was saying to himself, I am so out of here
Yeah.
playing for that guy.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. So
And I like Krug.
we may have to enjoy watching him because this may be his swan song.
Could be.
Unless Julien, they sit him down and say, knock it off.
Right.
You know what? A leopard can't change his spots.
Well, that's the question, I guess, with him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it
'Cause
is.
that's what we need him to do. We
That's
need him
exactly
to develop
right.
these young
and
players.
You know what? He's not going to do it.
And his track record is not
No.
that.
He wants.
He wants Kelly.
Yeah, he wants Kelly and Paye.
Yeah.
And
Paye's gone anyway, right?
and
Yeah.
Soupy and
Yeah.
those guys, because he only played like 29 games in the National Hockey League, but he played 800 and something down in the AHL or whatever it
Because,
was.
the other one kid I'm very interested in is Connolly. The
Yeah.
kid they got in the midseason
No,
trade.
he
He was
can
a
shoot.
top 5 pick or
Yes, he
something in the
was.
draft and didn't
Yeah.
work there, and he needed a fresh start. So here's your fresh start. So we need to give him the opportunity.
You're
And again, it's Claude the guy. I just don't feel good
not.
about it.
That-
He's just really not.
He's not going to have the patience. And by the way, Fluto today, in his article, well, now don't be so hard on Claude. All rookies are treated like this all over the National Hockey League. And they have it pounded into them. They can't do this and they can't do that. Because if you don't pound it into a kid, he's never going to get it. In other words, Claude told him, I'm trying to do the best I can, and blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. And he's wedded to the Julien and Peter Chiarelli guys, the pair of them.
Well, it was interesting in the short time that we saw Pasternak last year.
Yes, it was.
That he was getting back.
Now,
And he looked like he was really working at it, but he would screw it up occasionally.
sure. And what would happen?
Yeah, he'd sit down on the bench.
And it was like all of them. I mean, Hamilton, how many times did he end up in the press box?
Right.
His first year and in his second year.
Yeah.
Get
Right.
up there and sit, Don Cherry, by the way, today, threw out the first pitch of the Red Sox game.
Oh,
And
okay.
they asked him about Hamilton. He says he's a great kid. He said he's a good friend of mine. He's a wonderful kid. I don't know what the hell the Bruins are thinking of. They better have a plan
Yeah.
because doesn't look like a good move to me.
Well, supposedly their plan was to gather these picks and jump up
Yeah.
to get Hannafin out of BC to be your number 1 defenseman. I mean, he is projected as a number 1
But
defenseman.
what's wrong with keeping Hamilton as your number 1? He's got more upside.
See, I don't know if Hamilton's a number 1. I could see him growing into it. I don't see it as a
Well,
lock.
see, he never was allowed to rush the puck.
A number
So
2?
we
Yeah.
never saw him
Right.
really move the puck up. And the odd times we did, he scored goals.
But that's the problem with the system, right? Just like same thing with the NBA is you have to, these kids coming in the NBA after their freshman year, by the time they're 21, 22, you've got to give them that second contract, and you don't know yet. They haven't developed. So it's a
Well, you're
you're
right.
rolling the dice.
Yeah, absolutely. When you draft
you
these
need to
kids,
pay
you're
them.
rolling the dice.
Right.
And then after the first contract is over, you're trying to figure out what the hell is he going to grow up to
Right.
be,
Right.
Showing me signs. And one other thing, too, about Pasternak. If Julien didn't have him jammed down his throat, he never would have seen the ice last year.
Probably
Never.
not. Yeah.
That is not, big money kid and he hasn't done a thing to earn that money yet. Oh, that burns Julien. That, you know, these kids get these big contracts right from the get-go, #1 draft choices, entry-level stuff, and he never earned more than $25,000 a year. And
Yeah.
I think he's very bitter about that.
It is interesting that when I read the recaps of the kids that they drafted, a couple of them, you know, they talked really about their #1 attribute being speed.
Yeah.
That they were
This is what
speed
the
demons.
whole league is going to.
Right. So I was glad to see that
Yeah,
because it's an area they need help.
It sure is. It sure is. Well, the stupidest move of the year award is going to be awarded now. It's going to the Bruins
Is it?
for not trading Carl Soderberg before the trading deadline.
Yeah, last
the Bruins
year.
still
Yeah.
figured, oh, well, you know, Soder will help us get in the playoffs, but yet both Fluto and Emily Benjamin, who I love,
Yeah.
said he would have brought a #1 draft choice.
A #1.
That's what they both claim.
Really?
Yeah.
Then that was a serious mistake.
So you don't trade him, and you let him walk. And
Well, they did get a 6th-round pick for him, right?
Oh, yeah.
Compensation.
that's right. So that the Avalanche could have exclusive rights to him for a little while, and they sewed him up to a 5-year, $24 million contract. That's what Soderberg got.
Yeah.
So did the Bruins have him undervalued, or did the Avs overvalue him?
You know, we're going to find out if he's another player that they misused. That's what we're going to find out.
You know what? I'll be willing to bet you anything that Julien did not like the Swede coming over and playing Swedish hockey.
Right.
And he abused the hell out of him, too. And all Soderberg kept saying is, please, God, let me just last these 2 years and
Get
I'll
me
be
outta here.
gone.
Right.
I'll be gone, baby.
Yeah, that's what we're, and, you know, I think Soderberg is, when you look at him, he looks more like a Western Conference type player.
He certainly does. Yeah.
Right.
And he'll do well out there, I think.
So, but yeah, if he comes back and ends up with, you know, 24 goals next year.
Oh. It'll be the stupidest move
Right.
they've ever.
And we have
And
Renato.
the luckiest man of the year award is given to Carl Soderberg.
Carl Soderberg,
for
yeah.
scoring that 5-year, $24 million contract.
How quickly can I sign? Yeah.
Boy.
I was
And-
amazed when I saw that.
And Julien didn't like him. He was glad to escape, joining Kessel, Sagan, Hamilton, and nearly Spooner and Griffith.
Yeah.
If they could find their way out of Boston last year, they would have got on the train too. Boy, oh boy,
But
oh
yet he's
boy.
back, and that's
I tell you, I just got to, just a couple of notes I put. But Zach Trotman and Joe Morrow
yeah.
are going to, they
Get
better
their
step
chance,
up.
right? They're gonna get their chance.
Yeah, they're going to get their chance. They both have talent. They better step up.
Yeah, Morrow's an interesting one. I had hopes for Morrow. Right?
Yeah, he's an offensive defenseman.
Yeah.
But again, I don't want you playing offense. I want you playing defense. And
So if they get off, you know, there's a school of thought that says Claude is here because they truly do want to transition this team to the next generation, and they know there's going to be a down year in between, and they don't want to do to Claude what the Celtics kind of did to Stevens, say, okay, you're going to have to sit through a couple of tough years while we transition. So, you know, there is a school of thought that says, hey, all right, we'll keep Claude as the scapegoat. We need a coach.
and we can fire him whenever.
And then we'll get through this year. And, you know, they extended him not too long ago, so Jacobs is probably sitting there saying,
3
you know.
years,
Well, I gotta-
$7.5 million.
Right, and then I'm going to have to pay another coach on top of that?
I'm
right?
sure the only reason he's still in Boston is that contract.
But here's the thing. If they had let him go early,
Yeah.
and under your scenario earlier, I would think they might have known that. And those crazy rules they have in the NHL, Claude very well might have gotten another coaching opportunity.
He may well have ended up with Chiarelli,
Right.
and
And then they get compensation for
of course
him, right?
they do, and
So-
and whatever Edmonton pays him, the Bruins only have to pick up the rest of
The
it to make it
difference,
2.5.
right.
Yeah. Of course, they would work it so they'd pay him about $600,000 a year. But
Yeah.
so what?
So
They get
and-
compensation.
So why wouldn't you do that?
Why not? You know why? Because there's a feeling that Chiarelli is the scapegoat here. He is the guy that screwed it all up. We're
Yeah.
not going to help him by giving him a season to coach, as much as we don't want the coach. This really is ass backwards thinking.
Yeah.
Oops, not supposed to say that, maybe. But I don't think that that's good logic, but I think there's some of that thinking going on in
Yeah.
the front office. And I hope Harry straightens them out and says, all right, girls, that's enough. No more.
Yeah. I don't know. The idea of the 82-year-old Harry Sinden making significant decisions at this point, that's not exciting to me either.
He's still my boy.
I know.
He's still my boy.
But he never wanted to pay anybody.
No. But he sure as heck wanted old Jeremy to pay him.
And we were always one player short in the Harry. I like Harry too, but I think he's worthy of a lot of criticism through the Greg Shepard years. If we were always a player short.
Yeah,
One player short.
I probably on a good day would tend to agree with you, but Harry's still my boy.
Yeah.
Next player to go off the Bruins. Boy, I'll tell you what, Louis Erickson better not put down money on another apartment or buy a house, because boy, oh boy, he better color himself gone.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. However,
he played well
if
last
you want
year.
to put on the rose-colored glasses and say, okay, what's the scenario where the Bruins are in the playoffs next year? It's Louis Erickson having a really nice bounce-back year.
He had a pretty good year this year.
He did a pretty good year.
Yeah,
he's
considering
got hot down the stretch.
that I was on this line, then I was on this line, and
then the other guy, mental block, the other winger that we picked up from Dallas in the Sagan trade.
Riley Smith.
Riley Smith.
Yeah, now he's
Riley Smith bounces back and scores, 18 to 22 goals for you.
That
And those two guys between them give you 40 goals.
Riley Smith has got a lot of talent.
Right.
They didn't use him properly again.
Right.
I mean, and I think he was getting blasted from Julian too. You didn't do this, you didn't do that. So you see, I don't know. I look at the body language of those guys, especially on the bench.
Yeah.
An awful lot of guys hanging their heads on the bench.
Yeah.
And I just don't see what the Bruins think they're going to accomplish, other than saving $7.5 million. I don't see keeping this guy.
Which Jacobs is a significant accomplishment.
Yep. And I think that's it. That's it. Now, one other thing, too, just one other thing. I think Donnie Sweeney is really getting a bum rap with this headlines. Donnie, what, is this all there is you're going to do, Donnie, and blah, blah, blah. Look, Peter Chiarelli boxed the Bruins into a corner with these just absolutely ludicrous contracts he handed out and just poor planning. I mean, he absolutely ruined the budget. And to blame Sweeney for that, I think Sweeney came out of this about as well as you could hope for.
I think the transactions that he made were fine.
Yeah.
And I think in retrospect, it's all going to come down to those 6 players they drafted in the first 2 rounds. I mean, if 4 of those guys end up being, either top 4 defensemen or top 6 forwards, we're going to look back and say, what a genius.
That was a good move.
He went against the crowd and he did the right thing. It all comes down to talent evaluation ultimately, right?
You're absolutely right.
Can you evaluate talent and project these kids and then get the picks and make the right picks? Now, it's really early. Some of the stuff I've read, let's face it, this is the thing about the hockey draft. We really don't know the kids.
I know.
Except for the kid, maybe the kid Eichel. We know him. Kids from BU, BC, right? But from what I'm reading, a lot of people like their first pick, the defenseman. He was the 4th or 5th defenseman taken.
That kid. Yeah, a couple of the ratings, a couple of the prognosticators had the Bruins getting him.
Yeah.
They said that he's definitely the third best defenseman
Yeah.
in the draft.
So that one seemed to grade out
Yeah.
pretty. Most people said
Yeah.
it's a pretty good pick where you were
Yeah.
at 13.
Yeah, and
Now the
Louis,
next two were questioned quite a bit.
DeBrusque is a hockey player, and his dad, of course, played in the league for years, and he was a little guy, but he was tougher than nails, and he played all out every game. And they say, if this kid is anything like his dad, Bruins picked up something okay.
I think that was the book on him, right?
Yeah.
Very aggressive,
Yep.
all-out type
Yep.
player.
Yeah. But different than his dad, though. He's got offensive skills. Louis he was a banger and a fourth liner and a penalty killer and an energy guy.
Yeah.
But this kid is a hockey player. So I think they did, I don't know, probably all right.
Probably
with
all
him.
right.
Yeah, the other kid, they fell in love with his skating. And they said, here's a kid scored 26 goals playing on the fourth line in junior hockey.
Yeah.
So one of the scouts or two of the scouts must have fallen in love with him to move him up there.
Right.
But that's kind of the fun thing now. Now we'll get to watch.
We'll find out.
We'll see what
It's
happens.
going to take us
Yeah.
a couple of years to really know the answer here.
Yeah, because the Bruins, their drafting has been terrible.
Right.
So
So
nice
now
if
they brought in Gretzky last year,
Yeah.
Wayne's brother, right? Who
And I
we-
hope
we-
that wasn't just because he was Wayne's
Well,
brother.
I mean, he came to our attention, at least my attention, when Pasternak arrived on the scene. It was
Absolutely.
like, wow, look at this kid who we drafted with the #1 pick last year. I said, oh, Gretzky had come in and is now leading the evaluation.
Yeah. Small,
So the
and he can skate. And this is the way the league is going. There was quite an article in one of the magazines I read that said, all bets are off now about size. Size in the National Hockey League is always something good to have.
yeah,
But it is not a game breaker anymore. It's not a criteria. There's a lot of 5'10", 5'11", 190-pound kids that are going to play in this league and that are going to star in this league because they have skills
yeah.
and they can skate. Well, it's going to be fun to watch how it all unrolls.
We'll see. I don't think they're done yet.
How about this? Would you like to have some fun prognosticating how this unrolls? Deflategate.
Deflategate.
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
I think Roger Goodell is desperately looking for a way out. And
Did you write this? They're my notes here.
oh,
You
no.
sneak in and write them?
No, but I guess it's unanimous then.
Yeah.
So, I think he is desperate for a way out, but he's got to be careful. And
Oh,
I think
careful.
he would love to have the compromise be that, you're suspended one game for a failure to cooperate with the investigation, but we're not suspending you at all because we find there's no evidence that you were involved.
And by the way, we're also going to give the Patriots back their #1 draft choice.
Well, that's a good question.
Because there's no culpability. I cannot find how the Patriots were culpable. Sloppy a little bit, but I don't see any evidence of a plot here at all.
Right.
But maybe we'll just leave that #4 draft choice because you didn't cooperate quite as nicely as you could have.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Well, that's an interesting point. How can you exonerate Brady
Without,
and still leave that?
yeah.
Plus, they fined him $1 million,
Yeah.
right? $1 million
Now,
fine.
Kraft could
Well, I
reach it.
know, but it's still
Yeah.
$1 million fine.
It is, and it's
And now you're going to come out and say, well, on further review, on further review, there's really not enough here.
there's 29 other teams too that smell the Patriots' blood in the water.
Right.
They are not going to be happy
and that's his-
campers if he
yeah.
whitewashes
That's
this.
Goodell's ultimate problem.
Yeah, that
right
is
there.
his big problem.
That's his problem. It's the
And-
other teams. It's the Colts.
Yeah, Goodell
Ravens.
acted poorly in this. How can Goodell stand behind the Wells report? If Wells does the heavy lifting investigations for the NFL, he is in effect on their payroll, at least de jure as opposed to de facto. How can he be considered independent and impartial, especially when Goodell says to him, we got to nail these SOBs?
Right.
I'm sure that's what Goodell told him.
Right.
Remember the relationship between Perry Mason and Paul Drake. Paul
Yes,
Drake,
I do, actually.
yes, he hauled all of Perry's water, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
Yeah, but he wasn't an employee of Perry's, but Perry paid him per case or whatever he got
Right.
him to do. And this is what Wells is. So
Yeah.
where's Wells's loyalty lie? Perry Mason.
Right.
The hearing's over. Goodell is trying desperately to save his skin, to look tough, yet presidential, and hold on to that $40 million per year
Right.
salary. So now I ask you a question. Was a deal hammered out between Goodell and the NFL and the Brady Bunch to try to make both sides win, or at least neither side lose?
I think it's a distinct possibility. Yeah. Because the other thing they could do is they could take the approach of saying, we don't have direct evidence, but we still have a problem that Tom Brady didn't cooperate with the investigation. And we're not going to suspend him, but they could hammer him. They could fine him $1 million. They,
Sort of almost like looking for a dead body. We can't find the dead body. You can smell the stink, but we can't find the dead body.
But then there's the third factor here, which is the players' union,
yes.
which, while they're on Brady's side, they're also independent of Brady.
Exactly
And
right.
if Brady is willing to take a deal that the players' union doesn't like,
Yeah, that's just going to make the cheese more
That's a
binding.
problem.
Yeah. And that's a point I really hadn't thought about, because the players' union unenthusiastically is on Brady's side. But if the player union only would sit down and say, wait a minute, this could happen to one of us too, when these morons get together and do stupid stuff
Yeah.
like this. Got to be nipped in the bud.
I actually think the players' union is very, very interested in this. Because
Interested, yeah.
I'll tell you why. Because it goes through the collective bargaining agreement.
Yep.
And the collective bargaining agreement gives Goodell the right to be this arbiter.
Judge and jury.
jury.
Yeah.
And if
And
that,
appeal
if
the
that,
judge,
and if that
too.
gets struck down,
Yes.
it opens up the collective bargaining agreement that says, you know what, it's no longer going to be the commissioner. It's going to have to be an independent guy every time. And the players, I think, would rather have an independent guy.
Do you
than
really
the
think so?
commissioners. I think they do.
You know what?
Well, I think they'd like to have the option.
Yeah, because I'll tell you what, I would think that I'd be scared to death of that. Because if
They have a great track record, though, using them.
yeah, but if you get, well, take a look at the U.S. Supreme Court. Hey, we got guys that are wacko over here, crazy opinions over here, fighting among themselves. If you had, say, 6 or 8 independent judges to sit on these different things, one guy could look at it and say, the NFL's wrong. The exact same case, this guy could say the NFL's right.
Right.
I think ideally, it would be great if Goodell was smart enough to handle this and fair enough to handle this,
Right.
but he's not. He's not. Goodell is, I don't think is, I have another note here too I wanted to ask you about. Why did Kraft fold his cards so early in the
don't know.
game? Does he suspect Brady to be culpable? Or at the very least, not to be telling the whole truth? Does he think that maybe Tommy pulled some shenanigans?
Well, Bob's a very smart guy, and I think he's covering his bases, right? So he showed up at the owners' meeting in Arizona. Allegedly, he had numerous owners come to him and say, hey, you need to, you're one of the 32 here. You're not Al Davis, okay? And they pressured him to get in line, pay the fine, like other teams have done for other things. So he had that. He had the political aspect of the ownership.
There's no doubt that he wants to continue to be one of the most powerful owners in the game.
Right.
And he is.
And he is.
He is. I think the Probably, however, the bloom is off the rose with his relationship with Goodell. I don't
Yeah.
quite see those two having tea for two anytime soon.
Right. And the power struggle, ultimately, it's all about the money, which means it's all about the TV contracts,
Yeah.
which is the committee that Kraft chairs.
Yep. And his
and
son
has been very successful
his
at it.
son is on one of the top financial committees too.
Right.
They claim that he is just smart as a whip.
Yeah.
So this,
So when push comes to shove,
yeah,
the money talks,
the money talks and the BS walks.
just like every other
Yep.
business.
Yep.
So
What is a fair outcome? Now, Commissioner, what is a fair outcome? I'm asking you now to put on your commissioner's hat and pass judgment.
yeah, I would say no suspension, but a hefty fine for Brady under the auspice of you failed to cooperate. So we're going to fine you $500,000, $1 million.
Now, I know this is far-fetched. What if he failed to show them his computer or whatever those
His
things
phone,
are?
yeah. Right.
And the reason he did was maybe there was something would embarrass him a little bit. Maybe he had a secret friend. And
Well, first of all, he wasn't really he was never asked to really hand over his phone per se, right? He was asked to, with his lawyer, sit at a table and ask specific questions about specific days and whether do you have a text on June 24th from Bill Crane and would you be willing to, and we'd like to see that text.
yeah, and by the way, I wasn't thinking, by the way, of extramarital deals
Right.
with him. I was
No.
thinking about, does he have some very embarrassing stuff where he's the spokesman for Uggs? Is he negotiating to be the spokesman for somebody else that
Right.
competes with Uggs? Or something else with Giselle, with one of her deals or something?
Right,
That
and
he
with
just-
the lawyers there, that, would have been,
But you know what? All
headed
of
off
this
at the
crap is
pass.
going to leak out, though. That's
yeah.
it always does, you know.
No,
So-
I think my own
Yep.
opinion is that Tom Brady was not part of a master conspiracy.
No, he
However, he made it very clear to those guys with a wink and a nod that he wanted the ball soft. And if they were a little under, who knew? Who was going to know? We never had this conversation. You guys, do what you got to do. And you saw some of the text, and I think Tom Brady, despite his tremendous public image, I'll bet you he can be a tough guy to work for. He's very demanding. He's
Listen,
very demanding of himself, first
watch,
of all.
watch him in the huddle.
Right.
Watch him on the sidelines when somebody drops a pass.
And I think those ball boys said, message received, Tommy boy.
Gotcha.
And, Tom took care of him here and there, and I'm sure there was a nice little Christmas envelope full of cash for them and everything
I'm
else.
sure the boys did fine.
And I think that I think further that what Tom did, so he wasn't, like a good politician. He really didn't have his own hands dirty. He didn't really leave a trail where you could connect the dots. But I also don't think it was the crime of the century. And I think that these kinds of things go on in sports all the time. For crying out loud, look at what Red Auerbach used to do, all right?
The short bench, the
Yeah,
high bench,
right.
the heat.
So, on the relative scale, I just think it's not a big deal.
I just love that one
You
too.
know.
That he'd fire the heat up to about
Right.
90
In the opponent's,
in
right.
the opponent's dressing room.
Yeah. So, and I think other quarterbacks probably do the same thing.
Oh,
It's a wink and a nod. They know enough. They know enough not to send the guy a text and say, "Hey, remember, deflate this ball."
Like I think it was Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees both said, "What?
Yeah.
What is this all about?
Right.
Give me a break."
And the way they do it now, that the quarterbacks get to prepare the balls during the week, and who was it?
By
I
the
think it was
way-
Peyton Manning that came out and said, it was Eli Manning that just came out and said, it takes a month to get a game ball ready.
Yeah.
We have these balls in practice, and It takes us a month to get them
Yeah.
to where we want them for the game.
Yeah.
So they're scuffed and they're worn, and these are not new balls coming out of the box,
No.
right?
And by the way, too, when are they going to crack down on the receivers putting stick-em all over their
Yeah.
hands, too, making these unbelievable one-handed catches?
There's all kinds of stuff going on.
I
right?
mean, you talk about Brady with air in a football?
Yeah.
Give me a break. Well, sir, I tend to agree with you.
Okay, good.
I can
So we'll see Tom Brady opening night?
maybe one game. I could see them saying, Tommy, you got to sit out a game.
Right. So, my question then is, when will they raise the championship banner? I don't think they'll do it opening night
They
if
won't.
he's not there.
They won't.
That'll be there,
Absolutely right. When are we going to hoist the flag over Fenway Park?
The surrender flag?
Oh, tell me something.
They've actually shown some signs of life in the last
They
week
have.
and a half.
Yep. Are they done, or are they just
You know-
playing out the string, or are they committed to going all out for the last 83 games?
I don't know if they're committed to going all out, but it's a situation where, despite themselves, they can't play themselves out of it because of this division they're in, and you know the fact that somebody's very well might get into the playoffs this year with 87 wins.
Yeah.
Now, can they get to 87 wins? I don't know.
Well,
But there's a long way to go. We're not even at the
When
halfway.
we had our
we're about the
discussion-
halfway point.
before the begin, by the way, you won the guessing game. You beat me 9-8 on our predictions in the hockey playoffs.
Oh, 9-8. yeah.
9-8.
I raised the cup.
That's it.
Yeah.
But when we talked about the Red Sox, the early line out of Las Vegas was 86.5 over under. Do you realize it's only 82.5 now as we
Is
speak?
it? Yeah. I'm not surprised.
So that's one game over 500.
Right. You know, the first half of the year was the ultimate baseball Murphy's Law, right? If anything could go wrong,
go
it
wrong,
can.
it went
All
wrong.
the starters got off to terrible starts. Some of them are still terrible, like Porcello. But and nobody hit. They didn't hit worth a darn.
Mm-mm.
They didn't hit. They didn't hit with men on base. I mean, for crying out loud, it was epic, right? So they can't be this bad. Even bad teams have good stretches in baseball, right? And where they are right now, if they go out and win 8 of the next 12 games, they're right back in it.
Well, the only problem with that, and I agree with everything you said, the only problem with that is you got 4 teams you got to climb over.
Right.
4 teams have got to go on the skids for you to get past them.
None of whom are the 27 Yankees.
Oh, now listen, you're absolutely right about that. Although Murderers Row
Yeah.
looks like it may be alive and well in Toronto. Right?
Yeah.
They did they end up with 4 home runs today or 5?
I don't know.
But there was murder anyway. All right, now I'm going to ask you a question because the answer to this is going to go a long ways towards telling how serious the Red Sox are about the rest of the season.
Okay.
Hannigan is about set to come off the DL.
Yeah.
What are they going to do about the catching situation? Because they love Sandy Leone. He has thrown out 53% of the base runners that run against him. The pitchers love the game that he calls,
Yeah.
and he is batting a very robust 152.
Right.
Swihart has come up and has constantly get better.
Getting better. I like that kid.
I love him. I absolutely love him. He's up to 241 now.
Yeah.
He looks as though he handles the pitches well. He's got a good arm. He's throwing guys out.
Yeah.
Hannigan has never been a first-line catcher.
No.
Never been a number 1. He's hitting 222 with 1 home run. He has a lifetime batting average of, I don't know, 240 or something. What are they going to do with the 3 catches?
You know, I would get Hannigan down to Pawtucket and play him every day to get him going, and then try to trade him. If somebody's looking for a backup catcher, you know, you go back to the National League.
Yep. Now,
Because, you know, he's not your future, right? So
No, he's
Swihart's
not.
your future. So you want to play, you want to play him a lot. You
Yep.
don't want to burn him up, but you want to play him a lot.
He needs to play 3 out of
and
every
you've
4.
got Leon. So the question is, if next year Vasquez is going to take a while to come back, he's not going to be ready in the spring.
He's going to start throwing next month.
Yeah.
August.
But
August.
assume that he's kind of, don't count on him at least till the All-Star break next year. So who's your backup catcher next year?
Yeah.
Is it Leon or is it Hannigan?
It's
I think it's Leon.
It's nobody down at Pawtucket.
Right.
I mean,
You've
spring down
you've
there
picked
is,
it clean.
God
Right.
almighty,
Right.
get a little
So I think, based on what you said,
Yep.
I think they'd be okay with Leon. He can catch and call a game and throw. And if he gets a hit now and then, it's a bonus,
Yeah.
which makes Hannigan expendable. Hannigan's a veteran National League
Yep.
guy that if you can show that he's healthy,
somebody may be able to
you
use
might be
him.
able to. Maybe you package him with something else.
Yep. He's going to be 35 next month.
Right.
I mean, and he's never been a first line catcher.
Right.
So it seems to me that if the Red Sox are serious about trying to go for a wild card spot, Swihart has got to play.
Yeah, he needs
He's
to play
the best
anyway.
kid you
He's
got.
the future.
He's the future, and he's also the present.
Right.
And Leon's done a good job defensively. I think he's done a swell job. So Hannigan is, but here you go. The Red Sox front office, Farrell, said something about, well, we're going to have Hannigan back. And then he alluded to, veteran guys don't lose their job over an injury.
Yeah, well, he was a veteran backup to begin
That's
with.
exactly
right?
right. Although he was playing the majority of the game.
Because Vasquez got
That's
hurt,
right.
though.
That's right. Oh, exactly right. Yeah.
And the plan, which was the right plan, was to keep Swihart in AAA this year.
Yeah. And that would have worked out very nicely. But you know what? Swihart is not looking out of place.
No, he's not at all. I
No.
think at this point he doesn't go back.
So if Swihart goes back, I think it's a sign the Red Sox are throwing in the towel.
He's not going back this year.
I hope you're right.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Now, the interesting thing going forward is, are you convinced that Vasquez is going to be okay? And I think over the last month, as Swihart started to hit, his value is going to go up. And he'll have a lot of value. And if you're serious about trying to go out and find a number 1 starter that you can get signed and have him for the next 4 or 5 years, Swihart could be a piece that could actually facilitate doing that.
they could have had Hamels if they had
If they were
thrown
willing to
Swihart
include him,
in the thing, but
right.
they said we're not giving up this kid.
And I agreed with that
Yep.
at the time, and I think I still do agree
I
with
do
it.
too,
But, at the same time, I'll keep your options open, right?
If the Red Sox had been willing to give up Henry Owens, we could have had Cole Hamels too.
Right,
And that might not have been such a bad
Yeah.
deal because he's not pitching well down there.
right.
Yeah.
He's not overpowering.
Johnson looks all right.
Johnson looks okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Don't know. We
I've seen
should
him
be
a couple
here
of
soon.
times, and he looks all right. But boy, 90, 91 miles an hour tops.
Still,
Boy's
let's
got-
get him up here for 10 or 12 starts and
He's
see
got
what
a
he's got.
killer changeup.
Yeah.
If the St. Louis Cardinals called and offered us John Lackey back for Alan Craig and Joe Kelly, would we do it?
We can have them. We will personally drive them.
I'll personally drive him out there.
Yeah, it's an interesting question because the fish rots from the head, right? So
Yep.
Ben Charrington, who I've always liked Ben Charrington, but honestly, if you look now at his record the last year and a
Horrible.
half, 2 years,
Horrible.
you cannot find a deal that
No.
you say that was a good deal.
And you got
With the possible exception of Miller for Eduardo
Yes.
Rodriguez, right? That
Yeah.
looks like a good job.
yeah, that certainly does. He
It's a-
pitched well last
right.
night.
But the rest of them,
Stink
and you really start to wonder about the talent evaluation in that
especially
group.
the Cuban talent
Right.
evaluation. You got this relief pitcher Hinojosa down to Pawtucket.
Yeah.
He's a Cuban. You got Rusney, who, by the way, looked like an all-star down there the other night. He made a catch in center field. He also went across the field sideways and made a catch, a running catch, stopped and threw all the way to home plate on a line, never hit the ground, and threw out the guy at third base.
Well, that's interesting, and I'm glad to hear that because my impression of him when he was up was that he didn't have major league caliber fundamentals.
I think he does, but I think he's also lost.
Right.
Seriously lost. He also hit 2 identical balls to right field. Right center, the power alley,
Yeah.
to right center, and one dropped in for a double, the other one was good for a sac fly, right to the wall. He looked good.
Well, that's good because he's no kid, right? Well, he is a kid, of course, but he's 27.
28, yeah,
20,
28, yeah.
Yeah.
Here's something else, too. Max Scherzer had that tremendous 3 games that he pitched.
Yeah.
Do you want to know that he is batting .257?
Is he really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy.
He's looking good, yeah.
And
Good signing.
Steve Wright remains at Pawtucket. Pitched a complete game the other day, 5-hitter. He's down there.
Yeah.
And we're bleeding in the bullpen up here.
Right.
Just tell me that all makes.
You know,
And by the way, I get another question for
yeah.
you. Alejandro De Aza, where would we have been without him?
Yeah. He won a game the other night with his defense. Yeah.
And he's that bunt last night was a thing of beauty. He got everybody sound asleep. I mean, that kid, 28 or 9, maybe 30.
Yeah.
But he's playing. So, tell me something, General Manager. When the Flying Hawaiian is ready to come back up, what do we do with Diaz?
I would release the Flying Hawaiian.
Amen, brother.
Yeah.
You got it. Put him on irrevocable waivers.
Give him a chance to go sign with somebody.
Somebody can use you because, you're great. Pete Rose.
Yeah.
Will he ever go in the Hall of Fame?
Not now.
Nope. He will. I predict he will, but they're going to fix him not until he's dead.
Okay.
They are never going to let him enjoy going into the Hall of Fame. He's going to be punished, but somebody one day is going to say, how can we keep this guy out? Look at the amount of hits he's got.
Okay.
I think. And if you're looking for a villain, you'll have to do the Red Sox next time because I get so much crap there to ask you about. But if you're looking for the main villain in the Red Sox problem, it's Bill James.
Bill James, yes.
That knucklehead that lives out in Kansas with his Ouija board.
Right. You said that Mookie Betts was going to hit 320.
And also sign pitchers that are 27 or 28 years old. Don't mind 30 or 31. Yeah. Big game James Shields, 7-1.
It's a long list. We got a lot to talk about next time.
Yes, we do. We do. We'll have to schedule it right away.
Okay.
Folks, I've enjoyed visiting with you, and we'll look forward to next time. I want you all to behave yourselves, do good things, love one another, and Gary and I will be back in no time. We'll see if we can do it within a fortnight.
There you go.
That's what 14 days for you potheads out there.
Yeah. Okay.
Very good.